Welcome to Shomach Shov on the Daf, Shir sponsor Lui Nishva Asar Yaakov Shalom and Labas Yitzchok. We're holding in Basra Daf Kuf Memches. The Gemara towards the end of Amud Beis brings a suffix regarding a Shchiv Mirah. The rule is that if someone gives all his nechasim as a Shchiv Mirah, if healed, he could be chayzer, but he could change his mind, because the fact that he gave the whole thing shows he didn't really intend to do it if he heals. So I asked the Gemara, what about if he used Hegdish kol nechasim? He gave his nechasim to Hegdish. Do we say legabe Hegdish he probably was maknet? Or maybe not? And then the Gemara goes on and says, what about Hefker? Do we say because he's giving it to the poor and the rich, so he does gomer makne? Or Hefker not? And says the Gemara, a third question, what about Tzedakah? By Tzedakah, of course, he's planning to give it not to change his mind, or maybe kol legabe nafshe lo gomer makne, and the Gemara says takeaway. Rabbi Yosef Engel, in his Sefer Asvan D'Oraisa, Klal Yud Zayin, he has a discussion if there is a mitzvah to do Hefker. He wants to say that maybe doing Hefker is a mitzvah, because you're giving people the ability to use your nechasim. The lashon that Yosef Engel uses is mipeas haisnadvut shemitnadev minechasav leklal bnei adam. Giving to people is a big mitzvah. You're allowing people to use your stuff. And it's Midaik Loshen Rambam that holds that Hefker is like a neder because he's being noider to everybody to use it. He brings many rayas to this. He brings one medrash, the medrash in Shir Hashem, that says, what's Hincha Yofa? Hincha Yofa b'mitzvah sabayis. They do not very big mitzvahs. Trumo, Maisris, Leket, Shicho, Peyo, Maisa, Oni, V'Hefker. So Hefker, there's a mitzvah. And the Rabbi Yosef Engel uses the Loshen, Kazeh Re'eh V'Chadesh. Usually the Loshen is Kazeh Re'eh V'Kadesh. It says Kazeh Re'eh V'Chadesh. It's a big Chiddush that you see from the Medrash. Doing Hefker is a mitzvah. Rabbi Yosef Engel ends that klal by bringing our Gemara. He says the Gemara here has a suffix, a Shchiv Mirah, by Hegdish. Maybe he's giving everything because he's giving it to Hegdish. Second level, maybe by Hefker. By Hefker, he wants to give the whole thing. Why should Hefker be something important for a person to give the whole thing? Says Rabbi Yosef Engel, Masha from the Gemara, doing Hefker is a big mitzvah. So maybe when a person is mafkir his nechasim, so then he's actually trying to give it to everybody because of the mitzvah that he's doing. And that's why there's a tzad that maybe here he actually means it even if he healed from his sickness. But the Asvan D'Oraisa still stays with a question, because he says, according to the Rashbam, every one of the questions imtim tzaloimer. If you want to tell me by Hegdish that he means it, v'gomer makne, what about Hefker? And if you want to tell me by Hefker, the gomer makne, what about Tzedakah? So as the Rabbi Yosef Engel, to tell me that Hefker is greater than Tzedakah, meaning that maybe by Hefker he's willing to do it, but not by Tzedakah. That's hard to say. Even if you want to tell me the Hefker is a mitzvah, because you're letting everybody to use your nechasim, says the Rabbi Yosef Engel, heard of a pasha that Tzedakah is greater than Hefker. And he's mitbatmiya on the Rashbam. So Chaim Kanievsky, he has He'orus on the Sefer Asvan D'Oraisa. It's called Gilyonis Dechemuno. He says that's not so hard to understand, because the Gemara in Sukkah, which Rabbi Yosef Engel mentions earlier, says that Chesed is greater than Tzedakah, because Tzedakah is only for the poor, and Chesed is for the poor and the rich. So if you hold that Hefker is some form of Chesed, then Enechanami, it's greater than Tzedakah. Rabbi Yosef Engel himself wants to explain Pshat in our Gemara, that maybe the Imtim Tzaloimer is the opposite of the Rashbam. Meaning maybe the Imtim Tzaloimer is, if you want to tell me that Hegdish, he didn't really mean it, because he wants it back, what about Hefker? Maybe then he does mean it. And if you want to tell me by Hefker that he doesn't mean it, but maybe it's Tzedakah, which is such a big mitzvah, then he does mean it. But says the Rabbi Yosef Engel, that will explain to me why Hefker comes before Tzedakah. But how will you explain to me why Hegdish comes before Hefker? Why should you think that a person wants to do something more Hefker than doing it to Hegdish? Hegdish, giving it to Shemaim, is something greater. And he stays with the question. So in the Horus of Chaim Kanievsky, he brings in the name of his father, the Kilis Yankiv, that he says the Pshat is like this. Because always a person, when he's giving Matnas Shchiv Mirah, he really wants to see what's the benefit of the receiver. So the beginning gives the Hegdish. That's the first question of the Gemara. Hegdish, the receiver doesn't need the Hegdish. The receiver is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't need anything from us. So yes, it's a great mitzvah, but the receiver doesn't need it as much. Then stage 2 is Hefker. Hefker is already something that the receiver needs it. The receiver will benefit from it. Even the rich will benefit from it. And then the third stage, it's tzedakah, when the receiver not only will benefit from it, but it's the highest level of benefit because the aniyim really need this tzedakah. So akopanim, that's the pshat and the mahalach of the Gemara. But our Gemara is a raya that Hefker is a mitzvah, is a form of a mitzvah, a form of chesed. Anyone who wants to join the Shomach Shava email list to WhatsApp, please email shomachshava@gmail.com.